Happy Monday. So I think we can all agree that security is a super hot topic right now. Businesses are providing more budget than before to help protect their environments. We all know that it's not if you get attacked, it's when. It's not are they in my environment, it's how long have they been in my environment and what have they impacted. So with that, I wanted to do a quick whiteboard for you about what is a SIEM and what is an intelligent SIEM. I know that many of us know what a SIEM is, and many of us probably know what an intelligent SIEM is, but when I meet with my clients and businesses here in Tennessee, I don't like to make any assumptions. And if you are way past knowing what an intelligent SIEM is, hang in there with me, because I think that this is helpful to you in that it's easy to explain up the chain to leadership who may not have a technical background that you might have. So with that, I'm going to start by what is a SIEM, and then I'm going to tell you what an intelligent SIEM does and why it's different from a traditional SIEM. The way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to use an analogy. That's the way that I learn, and that's the way that I try to educate or help my clients understand more about a particular product or a particular solution. So with that, I hope you don't mind, I pre-whiteboarded some of this stuff just so I didn't spend my entire time talking to you with my back while I drew it all out. So I want you to imagine police headquarters, okay? So police headquarters sits in the middle of your city. There are many police headquarters throughout the country, different jurisdictions, all feeding police headquarters with information. So the types of information, just imagine a beat cop, someone who walks the streets and keeps the street safe. Imagine the types of information that they're providing to headquarters all day. Every time they have a traffic stop, they call headquarters. Every time they call in a license plate to see where the car is from or if it's stolen, goes into headquarters. Every time they get a tip called in about a crime, every time they have a house call or someone calls 911, all of that feeds into headquarters, okay? So what I will compare our beat cop, our little points of data that are hitting headquarters to, are our logs, flows. I'm going to point this way, logs, flows, and user activity. So logs are going to be coming from your firewall, flows are going to be your network traffic, and then user activity. All of this we wrap up in a word called assets. Assets just mean an IP address. So imagine each individual in the United States has a social security number. Very similar thing. It's a way to identify individuals, and it's a way to track and confirm who those individuals are. So as all of this information is going in a traditional SIEM, all this information, tips, armchair detectives, evidence, all this is going into headquarters. In a traditional SIEM, imagine if all of these points of data that are going into headquarters were written on 3x5 note cards in different people's handwriting, different languages potentially. All of that was just thrown in the window at police headquarters. Would you be very effective at catching the bad assets or the individuals who are bad actors? Probably not, right? Because it would be very difficult to categorize those note cards. It would be very difficult and time consuming to decipher what the writing was on those note cards. And you might have a super important note card, but it's under all these other note cards that have been thrown in after it. So that would require a pretty intensive labor force for you. And it would also add in a lot of human error, right? So in a traditional SIEM model, all of the information from the logs, the flows, and the user activity come in, but there isn't really a way to correlate them. There isn't a way to aggregate them and put them in one place. And there really isn't a way to provide a normalization or a common language to all of the information and give you something usable afterwards. So it is monitoring, it is pulling in a bunch of information in your environment about the security of your environment, but that's about it. So in a smart SIEM, what happens is all the cops are feeding headquarters with data, little different points of data about all of our assets, our social security numbers for our individuals. And in a smart SIM, headquarters has a data collection tool. So everything is entered in via computer. It's translated into the same language. It's readable in this database that is created for all these data points. And then you also have on top of it an investigator who correlates all the data that's coming into the database, and then also helps you create a wanted list, like think America's Most Wanted, of these bad actor social security numbers or assets. And so the data then becomes a lot more powerful that's being collected. And it can be used in a much quicker way than a traditional SIM. So in a smart SIM, what happens is that the smart SIM will aggregate the data, put it all in one place, all in one language. It'll correlate the data and tell you where there are similarities, where there are disruptions, where there are events that don't make sense, and then it will normalize. So it creates a ticket for an individual to read and then go investigate further. So some of the features of that are that in a smart SIM, you're going to get baselines for normal behavior. You're going to get protocols and processes, standards around security within your network, within your user activity, within your flows, and your logs and your flows. And then it will help you blacklist the bad players. So throw the bad players in jail. They cannot get out into society, into your environment, and wreak any more havoc. So hopefully you have followed me up until here. So we talked about what is a SIM. It's headquarters of your security environment. It brings in information from your firewalls, your network, and your user activity, your assets. And then we talked about why would you want an intelligent SIM? So an intelligent SIM is able to aggregate, correlate, and normalize the data. So it puts it all in a database, puts it all in one language, correlates it, lets you know, hey, this file belongs in this case file because we know this guy has acted badly before. And then it creates a path to resolution by providing the data necessary to track it down and see what's been impacted. So with that, I'm going to move forward into a little bit more technical part of the conversation, less fun talking about police headquarters, but hopefully you'll find it helpful. If you followed me up until here, great. If you didn't, just let me know. I'd be happy to explain it in even more layman terms, which is more my speed. But now I'm going to talk a little bit more technically about what a smart SIM does. So this first line up here at the top is where a traditional SIM stops. So what it does is it provides intelligence and it collects all of these actions. So threat intelligence, security device actions, configuration, data, application, port settings, file transfers. It's collecting data on all of those things. That's what a traditional SIM and an intelligent SIM does. So it's collecting all the data. But what's awesome about a smart SIM, why you should be interested in a smart SIM, is what happens next. So that's where a traditional SIM stops. An intelligent SIM is going to deduplicate all of these data points. It's going to then correlate them, which we talked about on the other side of the board. It's going to provide behavioral intelligence as well as threat intelligence. Then it's going to provide asset and vulnerability standards for you. It's going to provide an activity baseline as well as UAV anomaly detection, and then also provide analytics that wrap all the way around that. So smart SIM is important because what it really does, if you remember nothing from this whole conversation, remember that I talked about police headquarters. That's what a SIM is. And then this sentence right here. Over 2 billion events happen within a medium to large size business every single day. 2 billion data points. Can't even imagine how big that is. Carrie, Scott, and I discussed this in my N-TECH-KNO video with Lissa and Extra Hop. We talk about how many events happen within these organizations. So Smart SIM takes 2 billion events, correlates them, and then shrinks them down to about 20 tickets that someone within your organization can go attack and determine if they're false positives or if action needs to be taken. 20 seems a lot more doable than 2 billion. So the last thing I want to talk about is just kind of the structure of security within organizations that I have seen and that many of us have seen. So if you're a large organization and you're blessed enough to have a SOC, you're going to have dozens of individuals generally that are helping try to secure and keep your environment safe. You're probably also going to have a lot more than 2 billion events every day. So a smart SIEM can help this size organization because it helps streamline the process from detection to response. So you can speed up your response time astronomically by using an intelligent SIEM. So in a smaller organization, say where the IT team has one individual trying to keep the environment safe, same thing. It helps do the job of the entire tier 1 through 5 support team, but it also helps you get to a response quicker. So that individual may not be able to go through 20 tickets a day, but if there are less events, there are probably going to be less tickets, some false positives. So that individual could likely respond to 5 tickets a day. So smart SIEM, you are not too small or too big for an intelligent SIEM. That's one thing that I wanted to let everyone know. If I can explain this better or you have any questions, don't hesitate to message me. I'd be happy to discuss it with you further. And I hope that you found this helpful. So this was my whiteboard session on smart SIEM versus traditional SIEM. Have a great day.